I'm Amy from Doodle Dog Designs. Today I'm going to be talking about rug hooking. Today I want to show you how I make a pillow from a square or rectangular hooked rug. I've done a video before showing how to make a shaped pillow from a hooked rug, but I've never shown you how to do a square one. So to begin with, there's a lot of excess monk's cloth here, and I'm going to cut it off to be right around an inch of excess fabric all the way around. So I'm just going to use my ruler and marker and mark it. These are going to be my lines. I will cut on these lines and then I will serge. The edges are all serged. Now if you don't have a serger, you could use a zigzag stitch along the edge. I forgot to mention this rug had already been steam pressed before I started this process. So I want to first fold down the corners, and I'm going to fold them all the way over so the hooked loops are right there on the edge of where I folded, and I'm going to press that. And I'll do that on each of the 4 corners. Now that the corners are pressed in, I'm going to fold over each of the sides and press them down. And I want to pull so that the empty fabric is tight across here. So I don't want to have it be all bunched up like this. I want it to be folded over right at the edge of the hooking. If you watched my recent video about my misadventures in wool dyeing, you know that I tried to dye some red wool to match this because I did not have enough of this red to use on the back. But that was unsuccessful for this project. I will be able to use that wool for something else, just not this. So I'm going to use some natural colored wool. I have this wool's already been felted and is ready to use. You could do two different things. You could measure and then you could cut the wool. I'm going to lay it out on the wool and then I'm going to use my scissors and cut around just in case something isn't quite exactly square on the hooking. So I'm going to put it close to the edge so I don't waste any fabric. Now if you wanted to, you could baste this down before you do this. I don't like basting, so I'm going to skip that step, but I will have to keep messing with it and folding it under, so it maybe would be faster in the long run to baste it down if you want to. So I'm going to use my sewing scissors and I'm going to have them at an angle. I'm not going to cut them, I'm not going to use them straight up and down, but at an angle away from the project so that the backing will end up being just slightly larger than the hooked rug. I did press this wool before I started. I'm going to go ahead and cut. I think it needs cut on this edge a little bit also. Just cutting the very edge off. I'm going to start sewing on the bottom. And I will start in the middle of the bottom and work my way around. And my fabric is probably going to be too big. My wool backing probably be too large, but I'd rather have it to be too large than not big enough. I can always cut some of that off. It's fairly easy to cut it off, and you can't add any back on if it's not long enough. So I'm just going to put a few pins in here, and I will move the pins along as I sew. I'm not going to pin all the way around. You could pin all the way around, but I tend to poke myself when I do that, and that's no fun. You want to use a thread that matches the backing, doubled over and knotted at the end. And I'm going to go up underneath the folded over fabric here. To hide my knot back in there. Then I'm going to use this excess fabric and it will wrap over the edge of the monk's cloth as you whip stitch. I'm going to go in here on this side next to the hooked rug and come out on the other side on the wool and then wrap this around and just keep whip stitching. I've stitched all the way up to this first corner, and it looks like I'm going to have too much fabric on this side. So I'm going to make sure that I have enough on both ends before I cut anything off. Looks like there's going to be plenty on both sides, so I'm going to cut just a little bit off of this side here. That looks like it will be much better. So I will go ahead and pin this edge here. And then I'm just going to probably put a few extra stitches in the corner to make sure that this corner piece of backing gets stuck down and doesn't pop out. I am occasionally having to push that monk's cloth back in. If I had basted it, I probably would not have to do that. So I have sewn all the way around, and I've got an opening here for stuffing. So now I'm going to put in the stuffing. I'm just using some fiber fill stuffing. I do like to fluff it up before I stick it in my pillows. Now I will finish sewing up this hole just the same way that I've been sewing, just using the whip stitch. Thanks for watching. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe below. I'll see you next time. Bye.